How's it going, everybody? I'm Nikki Delventhal, and these are my dogs, Rodney and Camper Delventhal. For over 3 years, we lived in a Toyota Prius, but now we're in a 4x4 Sprinter. And we're here to take you along on the wild ride. So fasten up your seatbelts and let's have some fun. Don't forget, if you like what you see, like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, and turn on notifications. We would be so thankful. It has been 1 full year since I moved into this van. This is a van that I custom designed to fit all of my needs. And despite living in over 15 different vehicles 6 years prior and really getting to test everything, I'm talking pull-behind trailers, pop-up campers, SUVs, minivans, you name it, I tried it. And despite all of that, I still have regrets and I made a ton of upgrades. So today I figured we would do an upgraded tour, but also go over all the things I wish I didn't do and all the things I would 100% do again. Speaking of vehicles I wouldn't do that I tried out, one of those. Mostly because of my driving skills, but let's continue. Before we dive right in, I think it's extremely important to note that this rig would not be possible if I didn't live in a Toyota Prius that was 17 years old for over 3 years to save for it, but also it wouldn't be possible without my sponsors. This is a very expensive rig and having sponsors really cut that cost in half. But with that being said, all of the sponsors that I worked with are sponsors that I personally reached out to, and had they said no, I still purchased their stuff. So this is my first choice on things. But again, had I not had those sponsors, I might have done things a little bit differently. So I'll explain to you why I chose what I chose, but I'll also maybe go over some things like what I would do if it wasn't sponsored. Speaking of things that were really freaking expensive that I would questionably do again, let's start with the exterior because this might be one of the most expensive parts of the vehicle. If you want to swipe $50,000 to $100,000 off of your budget, don't do the exterior. But for me, it was extremely important to have a 4x4 capable rig that was also luxurious and comfy because I do this full time. If I wasn't doing this full time, honestly, probably wouldn't have gotten this van and I would have gone with something else, but we will talk about that later. I am full-time, so I chose the 144 4x4 Sprinter van. In 2022, they stopped doing 4x4 low and high gear, and that kind of pressured me into getting it because I didn't want the all-wheel drive. But essentially, this van is not a true 4x4, which I learned the hard way in some loaner rigs. Until we get to the next pull-out, we'll just have to keep reversing until we don't get stuck. So we made some major upgrades. For one, I am sporting BFGoodrich K02 Tires. I absolutely love these things. Tires will get you out of so much trouble. These wheels are just for looks. I think they're beautiful. But one of the best upgrades I did was the Agile off-road rip kit. It makes your ride so smooth and it gives you that extra lift. Best thing I ever did. I also added an onboard air system so I could air up and down while I was off-road anywhere I am, and that is a game changer. I also have these Max Tracks, which I've used many times to recover myself, and I also have this winch. Absolutely amazing, makes you so much more confident off-road, but also gets you out of some really sticky situations. Now, the add-on that I'm not sure was worth it. How do I say this? All those amazing have helped me out so much, especially with the lifestyle I live and the way I drive. But I also spent, it was between $10,000 and $12,000 for locking differentials because the Sprinter is not a true 4x4 and I wanted these wheels to work together if I got in a pickle. I haven't used it. In a whole year, I haven't used it. To be honest, I find myself on roads where there are 4x4 vehicles and ATVs, and I'm still in two-wheel drive absolutely fine because I'm learning how to drive really well. So I'm not sure if I regret it. Truthfully, when I'm stuck in sand or something and I'm aired down and I'm using all my stuff and I still can't get out, am I gonna wish I had it? Yes. So do I regret it? Not necessarily, because better safe than sorry, but also was it necessary? No. All right, we have our KC lights. These things are amazing. It could be the middle of the night and you could see everything. So really, really great, especially for nighttime driving off-road. Got all the things. Oh, this one was a game changer. I have a 47-gallon extended fuel tank by S&B that has literally changed my life. I can't tell you how many times I didn't run out of gas because of it. Highly recommend. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I also added skid plates because I do some dumb stuff and I'd rather not have a hole in the gas tank. And well, I don't know, is it a good idea? Probably. Is it necessary? Probably not. All right, what else do we have here? Most of the exterior, like the side step and the roof deck, is by Flatline Van Company. Really love them. It's also the tire carrier and the back over here. One thing I did do is I did custom weld this into the step for the dogs so they didn't go through. I also added this box in the back, although it did leak at one point, so I did have to caulk it. So yeah, that wasn't very fun, but now it works fine. The box holds recovery stuff, levelers, which I constantly lose. I don't remember who that's by. By the way, anything that I do have, I'll link in the description or just write what it is in case you need a list of everything. But let's get on the roof and show you a couple other things here. This ladder is also Flatline Van Company. Really like it. I also like how they have the grips for your feet, which a lot of other companies don't. So you don't fall when it's like snowy and stuff, because that has happened before. This whole area is walkable. I have the solar panels. I think they're by Xantrex. We have this upper deck part here that I had custom welded. This was so I had more deck space, more solar ability, because this is covering the AC unit. Otherwise it wouldn't be usable space. Deck was one of my favorite things I did. I would definitely do that again. AC unit we'll get into when we get inside. Same with the fan and satellite internet. I do have this WeBoost. To be honest, I don't really use it. I'm sure it's really helpful if you don't have satellite internet. Would I use it more? Yes. But do you need both? Probably not. All right, back down. I think that's pretty much it for the exterior. Again, Max Tracks. Yes. Ooh, the awning, you guys. That was a waste of money. I have used this awning one time. It is manual, and I think a lot of the reason I don't use it is because it's manual. And I kind of have this rule with anything car and van life: if it takes more than 15 to 20 seconds, you're probably not going to do it. And I think that's why I never use it.
Good. Keep twiddling.
Wow, twiddling's my middle name. I didn't choose electronic because that just means there's more things to go wrong. But one thing about awnings is, like a day like today where it's really windy, if it's out and the wind comes by and it's a huge gust of wind, it can break it, and then, I don't know. I probably wouldn't have it again, honestly. It might be great for other people. Honestly, if you like love shade and you know you're gonna spend the extra time to reel it out, or have electronic that has a sensor, that has a wind sensor so it goes back in so it doesn't break. Yeah, anyways. Really intense thoughts about that, huh? Now, where the magic happens. Actually, so you guys understand the inside more, I think we should start with the garage. Let's go to the garage. All right, you guys ready? This is a gear junkie's dream come true. Actually, this is, oh no, we're on a slant, please don't fall. Ah! Awesome. Now, in my van, I thought it was super important to have a very large garage that could fit 2 bicycles and all the other gear that I wanted, my climbing gear. So this did just that, but it also has a very awkward design, which you'll see why when we get to the interior, where there's a box popping out in the center. I have 2 showers. One of them lives right here. I use this more often than the other, but the other is badass. Wait till you see it. We have these clips here. This is to add carabiners with things hanging from them, but also this custom gear hammock. This is one of my favorite things that I did. It really just holds all my stuff. Really happy Overland Van Project custom built this, along with these laundry bags on the side, also just gear bags. I also upgraded, so you didn't see this until now. I have these heavy sliders. This was custom welded to fit the shape of the van. This is a game changer. It was really hard to get stuff out without it. One thing I would change is I would have the sides be higher in the corners, because when you pull it out, things actually get stuck behind. Then you have to go inside, pull them out, put them back in, and make it nice. But other than that, this is one of the best things I added to this rig. Now for the most expensive part of the rig. I have a huge battery bank. Like, I brag about my battery bank. Seriously, it's 1,200 amp hours. I actually had a company reach out and offer to pay me to use their batteries, and I ended up saying no, and I went with a Victron battery system. One reason being because these batteries are 200 amp hours that take up the same amount of space as a average 100 amp hour battery. So that was huge for me, because saving space is so important when you're in a vehicle like this that can fit in a compact parking spot. I did get a discount on it, but that was super important to me to have the most capable battery system for remote work and for my dogs. This battery system can run the air conditioning unit that I have for days. It charges through the solar panels or when I'm plugged in, because there's also an RV plug connector. But the main way I charge it is actually with the second alternator that I got from Nations, which will charge it up while I'm driving. I highly recommend it if you have the ability. It really is such a game changer to not have to worry about sunlight or finding an electrical port. But this battery system, that being said, this is a wildly expensive battery system. Do you need it? No. Do I need it? I felt like I did. We have these hooks so you can get up easier. Love that. Highly recommend. An outlet for my security system, and if I ever have to charge, if I have an e-bike or just to charge my power station. Speaking of sponsors, I am obsessed with my JACKERY portable power station. It was my main source of power when I lived in a Prius, when I lived in a truck. It is a game changer. So if a huge battery bank like this that costs almost as much as a car is not for you, a JACKERY certainly is. It saved me. When I started in a Prius, I actually had the Explorer 1000, and I am so excited about this because they upgraded it to exactly how I wanted. The shape is amazing. They upgraded the batteries. It lasts longer. It charges from 0 to 100 in 1 hour and can support more devices. The new Explorer 1000 is freaking amazing. So I'm really excited to have that in my rig as I use it as backup power. It can charge through driving, it can charge through an electrical port or through the sun. I cannot recommend them enough. If you would like one for yourself, please use the link in my description, as it really helps out Camper RV and I also have a discount code down there that could save you hundreds, but again, that link is what helps us out. So thanks so much. You guys ready? Let's get to the front. Okay. Oh. By the way, I also have a 30-gallon water tank, which is superb. You would be really surprised how quickly you go through that, but I still have a gallon jug glass bottle just in case I can't find a hose. It's also labeled as gas because I think it's funny. Imagine if someone tried to siphon it and all they got was water. All right, now where the magic happens. So first, the door. We have these bug nets. I added these after the fact. It is necessary. I did custom cut them with snaps and magnets. Keeps out the bugs great. It can also zip right off if you need it to. I also have this table right here, which is great just for outdoor cooking, things like that. There's an outlet. One thing I highly recommend is if you're like me and you have an area for your shoes, I have two different openings, one on the side so you can get it while the door is shut, and one on the outside so you can get it while the door is open. I made a bungee so the shoes can't fall out, but I also made this custom piece of fabric so the bugs can't get inside when the door is open. You're probably wondering what this is. One thing that is extremely important to me is my fitness. So this used to stay in on its own, now it doesn't. This was custom welded. It is a pull-up bar. And yeah, it's exactly what it looks like. And here is just a step so I could get around and use it. Though beware, I do constantly forget to put this back up and then slam the door, and then, yeah, it's never a pretty sight. Let's get inside. Let's start by getting some light in here. All of the covers for the windows and the fan and this partition, which I'll show you soon, is by Van Made Gear. These fold up. They're black on one side. These were custom done to the color I wanted. I really love these. These come right off and also fold up if you want them to. All right, I guess let's just go back to front, because it makes sense. First, bed height. I wanted the bed height to be exactly where I could sit and not have to hunch. So we did just that, perfect to the bike and the ceiling. Also did the insulation in the floors based on that. Also chose my AC unit based on that, because most AC units will come out a few inches. So Nomadic Cooling was my choice just because of the quality, but because of how it's fixed to the ceiling. It is a game changer. It also looks really beautiful. Would I do it in the future? I got an AC unit solely for my dogs to keep them safe. Would I have it if I didn't have dogs? Maybe not. You know, it's something that you don't use that often because it uses a lot of battery. But then again, on eco mode, I can run this for like 3 days with my battery system. So that is definitely a luxury that's not necessary. Well, let me tell you, it's a freaking game changer. So if you can, Nomadic Cooling is chef's kiss. Okay, back here. I installed windows and I have no idea why. I have not taken these insulated covers off once, not once. So would I install back windows? Probably not. These laundry bags by Alpine Van Works literally have stuff in here all the time. They also come right off, so you can bring them into the laundromat. We added these 2 cabinets above the bed on this side because I tend to have my head on this side. If you think about it, let's say you're parking in a city on street parking, it usually slants to the outside and you're going to pull in this way. So I wanted this side to not have the cabinets. I made them deeper than what they normally would be, and don't regret that at all. Comes out perfect amount, although when I do sleep this way, like clockwork, I do slam my head. I also added flares in here by Flarespace. These are absolutely necessary if you're tall. I'm 5'8", and I think I would struggle without them. Also, had I known I was gonna date someone that was over 5'6", 6 foot, I think I may have played with the idea of having something that pops up here. There was a company that I worked with who did that, and it was one of the coolest things, but it wouldn't work that well with this build, but just an idea. Oh, hi, Rod. Speaking of Rodney, I have 2 dogs. The other one is outside sniffing whatever he can find. It was important to me to have a larger bed, especially with dogs. So this bed is maybe like an inch short of a queen size bed, and it is custom cut and custom mattress. It's by Roamrest. Roamrest makes the most incredible mattresses and cushions, and you'll see the other 2 things later. But yeah, the mattress and the size, necessary. What is another thing? Oh, these lights. I love these lights. They're touch lights. At night, they can also be red. These are also really aesthetically pleasing. I really like them. Let's talk about these speakers though, huh? These speakers are pointless. Don't add speakers in the back unless they're independent to the system. These only work when the car is on. Yeah. Don't get speakers. Or if you love music, get speakers that don't need the car to be on. Yeah, moving on. Also, yes, I'm aware of the color in here. I'll talk about that in a minute. We have the cabinets, pretty self-explanatory. This is where I keep all of my food. Right here, I have another drop-down table. This is just extra counter space. Highly recommend having functional things like this that don't take up space but give you more space. We have, again, Roamrest custom bench covers. These are really comfortable and in ultra leather. It's also storage. So we have all this storage under here, and I also have storage right here. This is where my toilet lives. Another thing I wouldn't have, this toilet. I'm better off with a bucket. What would I do differently? I'll explain that when I show this next part. Next to the bench, I have this closet area. This actually has a hook to hang clothes, but I kind of gave up on that, and now it just holds a bag. This has ventilation for heat. We'll talk about that disbursement in a little bit. And the center here is why I have that box. So top drawer is utensils, but it also doubles as more counter space, which is so essential to have all the storage you can when you live in a van. Again, 2 other drawers. This one actually has a lock on it, so people couldn't get in as easily. And now my favorite part of this functional van build that was kind of hard to figure out, but so worth it. So this bottom drawer is on heavy sliders, and it comes out and turns into an L bench. It also doubles as storage. This is my dog's food and supplements and things like that. One thing I might do differently is I would have played with the idea of having an incinerating toilet or a toilet that lives right here, so that could slide out. I use it and then it goes back in, and then have this be the dog storage. With that being said, more complicated toilet systems require more complicated things. So I would look into an incinerating for sure. I'm not a fan of the compost and stuff like that. I think it gets smelly if you mess up. So I use bags. So yeah, maybe just a bucket there. Who knows? One other thing I did was under the sink, I made 2 double doors. So this way I could still have access to it while this bench was out. This was really, really smart to do. We have a little trash bin that I never use. I actually end up always hanging trash right here. More storage, just a lot of drawer space. So you can kind of see what's going on here. Countertop space. Okay, I have a double burner induction stovetop. I do really love this. If I didn't have the huge battery bank, I actually would consider just doing a propane stovetop with propane access from the outside. But because I have the induction stovetop, I do have this Inhabit Designs mat that I put over it because it's really easy for these to break. We also have the sink with a bamboo cover that I use as a cutting board, which I love the double. This sink is like the perfect size. I have my soap dispenser, I have my water, and then this is my reverse osmosis system. I love being really healthy and having really high quality water and food, so this was necessary. We just have these cute little hooks here, my lights, and another outlet. Oh, and since I lose my keys all the time, I also have this hook, and somehow I still continue to lose them. I also made these cubbies in here just so I could put my stuff while I'm sleeping. There's an outlet on top and an outlet on the bottom, but just in case I spilled things, I made sure that it also had a cover. Gosh, there really is so many amazing small detail things in this van. Just the switchboard for power. This turns on the WeBoost. This turns on my Wi-Fi. So I upgraded to the bigger in-motion satellite disc, I guess you could call it. It uses double the amount of power, and honestly I don't see that big of a boost versus the standard. So depending on your work needs, because mine are so high, I probably still would do this, but if you're not needing to upload like 250 gigs plus a week, the standard's probably fine, and just mounted on a flat thing would be great, or don't mount it at all. Depends how much work you want to put into it. It not make it easy. Originally I was always taking it out, which became a little bit of work, so I do like that it's flat mounted, but that also means that you can't be under tree cover or anything, or in the shade sometimes. So yeah, choose that way. We also have our water pump. We have patio lights. So I have lights on the outside here that will turn on from the inside. One thing that I do regret though, which we'll get into earlier when we get to that switchboard, is that all the other lights don't turn on unless the car is on. So that's something that I am gonna fix in the future. More lights, passenger light, driver light. And this is instant hot water, also part of the heating system. And this is the heating control panel. My heating system is my favorite part of the van. It blows hot air through right here, but what makes VanLife Tech so special is that it's radiant floor heating. So you have toasty feet even when it's negative Fahrenheit degrees. It is so cool. But also their customer service is amazing. I've had a lot of different heating systems, and I've also had a lot of different heating systems break on me.
No heat, no problem, man.
and this one has been no issues for over a year. And the one time that I did mess it up, it was my fault. They were literally on the phone with me within 15 minutes fixing it. So really happy about VanLife Tech. One thing you want to think about with the heat is the distribution. I have a fan here and I have a fan here, and again I added vents here. It was getting so hot in this back corner and in these drawers, so I can't leave food in here in the winter. So think about that heat distribution. Maybe I would have had it maybe live over here instead where the towels are. Right now these floors are covered with Inhabit design mats because we don't need the heat right now since it's the summer, and I like to kind of keep it protected since it gets really dirty. Up next, drop down shower. This thing is freaking incredible. If you knew me in my Prius days, this shower will be of no surprise to you. I took gallon jug showers every day. I was always near water. Showering is very important to me. I like hygiene. But I didn't want to take up more room in this vehicle because, again, I needed a vehicle that would fit in a compact car spot and was still small for adventures and stuff like that. So I went with Tetra van, and I think it was one of the best decisions I made because it takes up little to no room here and it becomes a full-size shower. Yes, it requires a little bit more work, but for someone who puts a high value on hygiene, it's amazing. I did do some upgrades to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, like these little snaps here. I also powder coated it white to match the van. It's also conveniently located right under the fan, so it can suck all the steam out. But yeah, this thing is amazing. I cannot recommend it enough if you are a shower lover like me. Here we have the closet. It was really important to me to have a closet. I just want to have a lot of clothes. This mirror. Also underneath, I chose to put the refrigerator here. I felt like this was the easiest access, but I did end up switching my refrigerators. So at first I had one that was a door style fridge where everything was fixed, and now I have a drawer style fridge, and it's so much easier to get everything. It also has a larger freezer, so I can store my dog's raw food in there when they have it. I did go with a deeper than average headliner. It has not been an issue. I just hit my head every once in a while, but not more than I did before in the other ones. It's amazing for storage space. I also have these custom hooks all along here. That's really great just because you always want to hang stuff from coats, wet towels. You need a place for that. And now the partition. So this is one of my favorite parts of the van for ease, insulation, and just because it's kind of nice to have a separate spot and you don't feel like you're in a vehicle. These snap up. This is also by Van Made Gear. This saves a lot of time. In history, I had to individually cover each window, and now this is just an easy zip and roll. Really highly recommend these. These are amazing. That 15-second rule, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and you're good. Honestly, so good. Let's see what else. Oh, this is huge. So yes, having a tall closet like this does cut space and doesn't make it look as big in here, but it does add the storage that I needed. So I would not change this. What I did though was I put a hole right here inside the closet so that way I could still recline the chair, or if I ever wanted to sell it, a tall person could still utilize it. So again, wouldn't change this closet area. All the storage is used. Oh man, this next part is so cool. So right here we have a custom dog bed, also custom floor mattress for guests. It is so amazing. I also love that the dogs can kind of just sit up here while I'm driving and they have their own space. It is in 2 parts. One, we have this mat. I use it for my knees. I'll show you why. It's also a really great outdoor dog bed. So let's take this cover off. This is a custom mattress. I've used it for multiple people. It unfolds into a bed. And I must say, it is a super comfortable bed. Like, this is more comfortable than my bed. Wow. Good job, Roam Rest. Now down here, I also have this installed. This goes in between there. But while I'm up here, I almost forgot. I also have this projector screen that hooks in right here for a movie night, which is incredible. But what is down here? This goes in just like this. You have to screw it in, and then you place your feet underneath like this, and it is a glute ham developer. Both pads also double as knee pads. I was not kidding when I said fitness and health are super important to me, so I added this in. Max air fan, definitely necessary to have a fan with proper ventilation through windows. I find this one really annoying. I've replaced the motor twice, even the fan, and it still makes this chirping like a cricket after like a few months of use. So you continually have to clean it. I don't know if that's normal in other fans, but yeah, it's kind of annoying. Speaking of windows, this has no screen or function. This one opens like an awning. This one is sliding, and this side window here, I have it as a sliding window. A lot of people have the ones that kind of open like an awning. I don't know, I just kind of had it stuck in my head that if I had an awning window, it would be easier to rob somebody, you know, like get your hand in. I don't know, could be totally off, but that was my thought process. Before we continue on to the front, let's just go with the obvious. My van kind of looks like it's a mental hospital. It's all white and gray. One pro about this is I think it does open up the space and make it look larger than it is. But also the materials I used were for longevity, for 4x4. I was told not to use wood, and after doing research, I realized why. Things bend, things change shape, things don't stay together. So this build was made not for being pretty, but for function and for longevity. So although it may not be the most beautiful thing, things wipe off. It is mold proof, it's lightweight, it doesn't fall apart. I put it through the wringer, and yes, every once in a while I do have to kind of screw some things back in to make it tighter. So yeah, all right, to the front. All right, let's see what else we got here. The seats. I do have seat covers. They're linked on my Amazon storefront. They go over the seats. I did choose fabric seats. I regret that. I wish I did leather seats because the hair still gets through and it gets stuck in there, even though I hate leather. I hate leather seats, but they're covered anyways. So yeah, probably would have done that. Now all this shenanigans. I have a button right over here that will jumpstart my car through the house battery if it does ever die. That is a game changer. I have had to use that before. Over here we have a panel for the lights when I'm driving and also for the air lockers. I would never put this panel here again, especially if you had dogs. I've had a dog accidentally hit the locker while I was driving on the highway. It's pretty terrifying, so I would move that maybe up here or right here. Regardless, it would not be where it is. I also made an upgrade right here. I think it was a couple $100 where I could have the van's camera on 24/7 when I'm driving on the highway, things like that, which has been amazing. It is so worth it, especially when you're driving. You can't really see the blind spots on a van, so the camera will show you if there's a car there. What else? I have a really cool rock collection up here. I love these things, and yeah, pretty freaking amazing. It's really hot up here, so let's go in the back and I'll tell you about why I probably wouldn't choose this van again if I wasn't full-time, or why I would. And yeah. Thank God for this partition because it holds so much heat up there. Okay, final thoughts. Why I picked this vehicle. As you guys know, I have lived in trailers, trucks, SUVs, multiple different vans, and I do this full time. Had I chose to do this part-time or for maybe like 2 weeks at a time, or had a home base when I was building this, I probably would have gone with something like a 4Runner or a Land Cruiser and decked it out, or a Tacoma with a pop-up camper. But for full-time, it is so annoying to have to go through that process every day, especially after you did it in a Prius for over 3 years. So what criteria was important to me was having a vehicle that could fit in a compact parking spot, It was 4x4 capable, or at least you could make it that, and there was less process. You could also get from the front to the back without having to get out of the rig, and really just a comfortable life, something you want to live in. So for me, that was the 144 4x4 Sprinter van. It is thinner than most of the other vans. It had the 4x4 capabilities. Again, I had to do a lot of upgrades to get it to where I wanted it. But yeah, had I not been full-time, when I do have a home base, I'm gonna make something cool. Another thing I would also argue is if it was worth getting the Sprinter, I would probably do some research in other vans and what it would cost to make it a 4x4 and to just transform it that way. That way you don't have to go to the Mercedes dealership and spend $2,000 every time you need to get it serviced every 20,000 miles. You know, there's a lot of pros and cons. So my needs might be different than someone else's. So I would definitely look into that and do the pros and cons list based on your own needs. Also, last but not least, I need to give a huge shout out to Overland Van Project, Dustin, Jordan, the whole team. They made this come to life. We were sitting in the mountains in Oregon in Dustin's show rig, and we put this all into AutoCAD and made this, and then they brought it to life, and I would use them over and over and over again. It was the most pleasant experience. They're so knowledgeable. But on that note, I hope you learned a lot today, or at least had some fun with us. And yeah, we'll see you on an adventure next week. We're heading east. Thanks for being here.